Hello and welcome to Hard Copy from our channel's television studios in Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. In the spirit of fairness, tonight we hear directly from the presidency. Since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office, criticisms of his administration have been unrelenting. The quality of life of the average Nigerian has deteriorated over the past 2 years. Many can no longer afford basic amenities. The poor, they say, cannot breathe anymore. While the Tinubu administration insists Nigeria is on the path to economic recovery, that promise has yet to translate into more money in people's pockets. Critics accuse the president of being distant from everyday realities, and his frequent trips abroad, even for official purposes, have done little to soften that perception. The administration is also accused of stifling free speech, with cases like Omoyele Sowore often cited, of reckless spending, excessive borrowing, and of trying to monopolize the political space. It seems that every commentator with a microphone has a grievance with the Tinubu administration. Are these criticisms deserved? Or are Nigerians misunderstanding the administration's intentions? Is the renewed hope agenda renewing hope or dashing it? Tonight, we put these questions directly to the presidency. Joining me is Mr. Sunday Dari, Special Advisor to President Tinubu on Media and Public Communication, here with us for a right of reply. Mr. Sunday Dari, welcome to Hard Copy.
Hi, Kyla. Thank you for having me today.
So let's start off with all that is being thrown at the presidency. And I think for many people, the buck stops at his table. So even if it's something that subnationals are supposed to deal with, it's most likely that they'll say, it's the Tinubu administration. How are you handling all this criticism of the government since it came into office?
Well, I think oftentimes you deal with facts because facts will trump propaganda and wrong perceptions and wrong narratives. And what we have done under this administration is to provide counter-narratives based on facts and based on measured steps being taken by Mr. President. Yes, the renewed hope agenda is renewing the hopes of Nigerians because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is rebuilding and building Nigeria from the principle of sustainability. Don't forget, most of these problems are festered over the years through various administrations. And the issue had been past leaderships have skirted around the problems. And I can identify a number of them. The issue of subsidy. As a journalist and as a media house, for over 2 decades, that has been a constant debate. We had a period in which more than a dozen people were arrested for subsidy scam. We read the stories about how our monies, our welfare was going into private pockets, yet no leader was able to take that decision.
I mean, that's a very important point.
And a couple of other...
Sorry to cut you there, because many people believe that the whole idea that the subsidy, this subsidy regime was a scam, or who has been held responsible. You say more than a dozen people have been arrested?
Not under this regime. I'm saying
not under this
yes, that's what it's been on. Within the last 20 years, we've had the big period of subsidy scam. People were arrested, some were jailed, some escaped out of this country and never came back. But it left the problem unsolved. So beyond that, the problem of revenue generation, tax to GDP, was quite low, the second lowest in Africa. Debt servicing was at 97% before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took over. He dealt with it, is now at 63, 64%. He has repaid or is repaying 16 different loans, not to talk about the IMF loan that he repaid. So as a starter, you expectedly, when you have a government with a mantra for change, when you have a leader who has a clear vision about building a sustainable polity and economy, you will get reactions. And it's no different. Where we have the opposition talking, we have Nigerians making adjustments, difficult adjustments, but necessary adjustments. And I think there are short-term pains so that we can have medium and long-term benefits.
That's a very important point you made there when it comes to the people who are complaining. Because the narrative out there right now is that once you criticize the Tinubu administration, everybody starts to fight you.
No,
Everyone from the Tinubu administration starts to fight you.
It's a wrong narrative.
How is that a wrong narrative? Many people have pointed. Okay, let's talk about one.
Okay.
The statement that Omoyele Sowore made about the president when he said corruption is dead in Brazil. We're seeing just a few days ago, or even your fellow special advisor,
Sowore went.
Mr. Obayo Nanoga attacking, telling him to take down the post. We're hearing DSS, all of this for someone's opinion.
Let's stay with what Sowore said.
Okay.
I'm a trained journalist. Sometimes you cross the line. And when you cross the line, you have to answer. It went beyond just saying, disagreeing with the president. You can't disagree with the president. But read Sowore's text. He said some other things that were basically libelous. So it is to that extent that is being called to question.
When it comes to the removal of fuel subsidy, many people are asking, okay, so subsidy is gone, we get. Yeah. Where is the money? Okay,
so let me tell you where the money is.
How come poverty is increasing and there's more money being sent to the state government?
So where is the subsidy money? Let's start from FAC. The allocation to the subnationals has gone up by 60%. Unprecedented. We've had testimonies by several governors saying we don't longer take local loans from our banks because we have more than enough resources. At that point, the president has done his bit by increasing the revenue going there. That's one. You look at the budget 2025, look at the budget for health, budget for defense, budget for education, budget for agriculture. Unprecedented, the highest ever in the last 11 years. Let's stay with health, for instance. The national health insurance, the president just 3 weeks ago made it mandatory. Just last week, or this week, 29 billion was released for social health insurance for all the states and the FCT. Primary health centers, critical in the value chain of health delivery. 5,000 of them are being reinvigorated. About 1,500 are already operational. As we speak, 774 of our young health fellows are spread all over the local government areas, working to deliver health to our people. That's on health. Then you come to education. Our sizable population of youth, over 90 million, most of them dropping out of school, most of them not in school, most of them into vices because they need to make money. Now, NELFON has reached 600,000 students and climbing, 89 billion spent. Beyond the soft loans, there's also the stipend, bringing back the period of bursary of 20,000 naira to have. It's never happened before. That's where the money is going to. Beyond that, look at the infrastructure. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road is not meant for Lagos State. It's not meant for the Southwest. It traverses the length and breadth of this country. Then move from Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, go to Sokoto-Badagry, 1,068, traversing 13 states. Will benefit. Economic zones will open up. Transportation. Look at the Kano-Maradi line, 128 kilometers. Started by the late President Muhammadu Buhari. This president took over. When you look at the bulk of capital projects, infrastructure is critical for any economy to develop. Most of them are the ones that were started previously. This president, because of their viability, because they are national priority, did not start a new one. He has continued with them. And I think that's where the monies are going to. At
what point will that translate to more money in the pocket?
So let me say, I think that's the layman's approach and understanding that unless money gets into your pocket,
then I'm not happy until I have money in my pocket.
Let me give you an example. The rail system, intra-city rail system in Abuja, they've been running for almost 2 years for free. Somebody is paying for that. That's the federal government.
It is that communication about the length of time that we have to wait for things to get better that is not being done. So the Nigerian just feels like, I'm suffering, and they are building things that I'm not using right now.
That communication is being done. It's also a function of where you're looking. Right now, we live in an era where you have multiple platforms. People are bombarded. So it's a question of where you go to fetch your information. There are some people that basically don't care about watching television. Some don't read newspapers.
Because it's always bad news and they're very stressed.
So if you avoid the bad news,
and sometimes avoid the
you also lose getting the unique and important news that you want. So that has been done. The issue is, are some people not suffering from selective visioning or auditioning? That sometimes it is only what you want to hear or see. yes, there's a place to increase that conversation, and it's a continuum. You have to come back and repeat it and repeat it. But I think what's important is that the work is being done. These roads are being fixed across the length and breadth of this country. The 6th geopolitical zone. No zone has less than 3 or 4 major roads. And these roads are chosen on a priority basis. The president was very clear, telling the works minister, only bring forward priority roads that will serve to link the agricultural lands to the urban center, that will ease transportation of our people, intracity and intercity. And that's what has been done. So the information is out there. Do we need to increase that information? Absolutely. But then we also need a populace that must apply itself to finding this information and be armed with it.
Before we go on a break, I want to take you up on another criticism of the president.
Yeah.
Which is that he's obsessed with taxation. The Nigerian people feel like they have never been this taxed in their lives. And the taxation is heaviest at a time when we are poorest.
So, countries raise revenue. Developed countries, you go to the United Kingdom, you go to United States of America, where I've lived, you just check. Countries raise revenues through 2 major avenues. One is via taxation, and 2 is through the resource that they produce. Maybe it's oil, maybe it's gas, maybe it's diamonds, maybe it's gold, for all time. Now, in this country, and I say this with every sense of responsibility, our tax system has been loose. Our tax culture, has the future of irresponsibility. It also has a lot of people evade tax. So for the first time, you're having somebody bringing about a tax regime that has been benchmarked with what you see in other countries. The taxes that we're being asked to pay in this country is no different from taxes where countries that are developing and have developed have paid. The government needs the tax revenue to develop, to give us those modern roads, modern airports, to increase the salaries of our workers, to provide energy. Our tax to GDP ratio is the 2nd lowest in Africa alone. So the taxes we are being asked to pay now, they're also fair. When you look at the 4 bills that have gone
How is it fair?
The government is not, for instance,
countries that have higher income, the citizens have a better
don't
quality
forget,
of life,
before they got to higher income,
yes,
this tax regime that they had started decades ago. Decades ago. What are these taxes? This president came in and collapsed 50 taxes to about 11. And that
didn't reduce the amount of taxes.
This has been explained.
It just consolidated them.
He also payee. That tax is almost sacrosanct. He's also removed that. If you also, your business does not go beyond, is it 80 million or you don't also pay. So there are exceptions and exceptions. Now, the other taxes being paid, they are not new. They've been there, dormant. Nobody to activate them. The president comes on and says, let us activate and have a modern tax system in compliance with 21st century economy. So if we want to have the modern roads, the modern airports, a modern health system, a functional transportation system, there are no shortcuts.
All right, we do have to go on a break. But when we come back, we'll be talking more about this love for revenue generation the president was boasting about. We've met our revenue generation for 2025. And then we'll also be looking at other criticisms of the president, especially this excessive spending story. Please stay with us on Hard Copy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hard Copy. We have with us tonight spokesperson to the president, Mr. Sunday Dare. Thank you so much
for making
time to be with us.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk more about revenue generation. The president was boasting recently, we've met the revenue generation for the year. Well, but there are still questions about borrowing, excessive borrowing. In fact, we saw some sort of, we don't have to call it a misunderstanding, but we were left a little confused with the statement from the Speaker of the House of Representatives and then the concept that we're not borrowing anymore. Could you please break that down for us?
Well, first, the president was not boasting. He was making a statement of fact.
Okay.
He had received briefings from the chairman of the FRS, received briefings from the Minister of Finance. And based on the data he saw that we have met our revenue target. Every government sets a revenue target. And this administration had its revenue target. We are now at almost 21 trillion. He was making a statement of fact.
What was the target?
Was not boasting.
What was the revenue target?
The target was about 16 or 17.
Okay, so we made 21.
It's about 21 now, 21 point something. And I think we should recognize that. Where were we before? 9 trillion. We're straddling between 7, 8, and 9 trillion. This president came in and activated the necessary levers for revenue generation. This administration should get some credit. So it was not a boast, it was a statement of fact.
Okay.
The Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, has come out clearly with his clarification. You see, when there's confusion about a certain statement, the right to clarify cannot be taken away and must not be taken away. And he went at length, point by point, to make that clarification. And I think that suffices. Of course, the debate about excessive borrowing is still ongoing. But borrowing is a legitimate instrument for growth and development. Let's look at global statistics. America, $38 trillion in debt and still growing.
How much debt are we in?
We're at 92 billion. A drop from what we inherited, 140-something billion. We're at 92 billion. Let's just say...
What was it used for?
All right, so financing capital projects.
So to finance capital projects, we removed the money, the subsidy money and borrowing. We used both.
Absolutely. Because you know, some of these projects are dollar denominated, some are naira denominated, and this borrowing is not excessive. When you look at the debt to GDP ratio of Nigeria, we're at sub 41. Then you look at that of Ghana, 70% debt to GDP. You look at that of Ghana is 90%. South Africa is 70%. And I just gave you what the US owning right now. So we're within our limit. I think what's important is this money is being borrowed, being used for visible projects, capital projects. So when you see the Sokoto Badagry, when you see the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road, when you see the 550 billion going into agric mechanization, when you see the monies going into health centers and facilities, when you see 6 new cancer centers, 3 already commissioned, those monies are going into those places. So if these loans are tied to specific you can hold the government accountable. And we can do that at this point. And I'm saying we're at sub 40% debt to GDP.
Excessive spending of the Tinubu administration. Everyone has pointed out that car he's using. They point to that airplane he's flying. You
know, this never goes away.
It will never go away. The yacht.
You know, I think the question at the Senate...
At a time when you're telling people... let me tell you what the problem is. At a time when you're telling Nigerians to tighten their belts, oh, don't worry, look, we're on our way to El Dorado. We just need time.
So can I take them?
You're buying that Trump's car?
Can I take them one after another?
Okay.
Over 18 months ago, the question of the youth had since been settled, even at the level of the parliament. That youth was not part of Tinubu's administration's budget. That youth was put there for the purposes of the Navy, and that has been cleared and settled. So there's no Tinubu yacht anywhere.
The Navy is using it to do what?
Well, I'm not the naval chief, but it must have been what is necessary for their operations.
So it's not a luxury yacht?
The yacht, no, it's not a luxury yacht.
Okay.
And the Senate, in their session, have dealt with it. That's gone. Talk about the aircraft. The aircraft belongs to the federal government of Nigeria. We looked at the cost of maintenance, the age of the previous one, and it was decided that another aircraft was needed. That is not the property of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Where's the old one?
It's the property of the federal government.
Where's the old
Nigeria.
airplane?
Again, there's the Presidential Air Fleet. They're in charge
just there.
They're in charge of the air fleet. Some of this information is classified, so I can provide that. But you know that, of course, it's either they will keep using it or they will sell it. You know, somehow There are processes that will take place. Then you talk about the vehicles using, and I keep saying it. How much is the cost of a vehicle for Mr. President in the midst of the quantum of money needed? This president has said, even before he became president, he said, what you need to power an economy forward is that you must set up policies that will ensure that you spend the money to help the people and not spend the people. What that means is that you must invest resources of state to help the people, either via education,
How is
health
this car
provision.
Helping the people?
No,
There were cars before.
Look,
the argument is that there was a car that the former president used. Why isn't he using those ones? Why are you buying a new one?
I'm saying the cost of the car is infinitesimal.
Yes.
In the middle
but it's
of
not
all
good for
we're
the
talking.
optics.
So let's.
It's not good for the optics because now they look at his car. There was a car before. He's now using the same car that Donald Trump uses. So what happens to the other fleet of cars?
They're there. They still belong to the federal government of Nigeria. But I'm saying that the money spent for that car is infinitesimal.
It is still money. It is still taxpayers' money.
In the quantum of money that we need to fix things. And is this president spending the money and the resources to be able to provide the social safety net necessary? Yes, in health, in education, in transportation, in infrastructure, in security. He's doing that.
The power sector and this insecurity that we're facing. Are there areas of improvement? Are there areas where the Tinubu administration needs to improve, especially in these two sectors? Yeah,
there will always be areas for improvement, but it's also good to recognize where we started from and where we are right now. The issue of insecurity, in this country dates back to from the Yaradua era. It peaked during the Jonathan era. It also peaked during the President Buhari era. Of course, we recovered the local governments. But when you look at the Sahel region, you look at the dislocation of Libya, you look at the inflow of arms, you look at the terrorist organizations that came up, ISWAP, Boko Haram, and all of them, they play around our borders that we share with Niger Republic, with Cameroon, with Chad. Borders that are unpoliced. And that influx comes into the northeast region, especially. So every government has grappled with this on a continuous basis. And the dynamics have changed from using kinetic and non-kinetic. So it was inherited, and efforts have been made. And I think what really points out to this is the Ansaru brothers, who are now facing trial. The work that went into getting them, these are the real ringleaders. Even the United States, the United Kingdom recognized that effort. We sit here, when they took out Osama bin Laden, the entire world celebrated. It was ahead, it was at top of that terrorist organization. And I think the same thing, the United States recognized that to have taken out and arrested the Ansari brothers was critical. It signposted the fact that our security people, the intelligence community, were doing a good job. Okay. Now, let me also say this. Has the problem gone away? Absolutely not. Are efforts being made on a continuous basis? Absolutely. We can talk about 13,500 terrorists that have been arrested and neutralized. We can talk about the Toscano jets and the new firepower. 2 days ago, they took out about 76 terrorists in the Northeast. Will this disappear? No. On a continuous basis. Is there a silver bullet? No. But you have a president who is committed to providing security. And he has said it. He said, without security, without effective, comprehensive security, economic plans and meeting the economic growth of any country is in jeopardy.
You were going to talk to us a little bit about the power sector.
Yeah, the power sector.
What needs to be improved there? Does it need improvement? Do you agree?
It does. It does. Because this administration inherited a transmission system.
Your power minister is being accused of doing more politics than actual work in the ministry.
Well, we need to see proof of that, because I know that, I watch the news, I follow what's happening, I see him dealing with the issues of power supply. Transmission network is obsolete. It's clear. You're talking about the last mile. There's the issue of generation. There's the question of transmission. there's the question of distribution. Transmission is critical. If you generate 10,000 megawatts and your transmission is bad, the last mile will never get it. So what is happening now is an effort to revamp the transmission system.
Is the president going to revamp, since we're here, is the president going to revamp his cabinet again? Well,
you know, the president in his wisdom set up the office of the special advisor. That's where ADISA is, that monitors the performances of the ministers and provides periodics. They also have KPIs that they have to meet. And the president, by his training and discipline, will ordinarily wait for those report cards to come in and make a judgment. So it's not something that will be done on the flip or on the flimsy.
When is the next report card being submitted? Because Nigerians really need to see something. Because there are people who are hiding. There are people in the president's cabinet that are conveniently hidden, not doing anything.
Yeah, but no,
in fact, I saw something online. There was a WhatsApp group.
Some might not be. Some might not be on television, but they're doing great work.
There's an account that is called the Silent Ministers. Tinubu's
they might be silent in public space, but they're doing the work, the assignments they're given. I can tell you of several ministers who are quiet. I
can start to call names.
Who are quiet, but are doing great work. The housing minister, you not see him on television every time, but he's working hard. We have over 6,000
even the power minister, I don't remember the last time I saw the power minister on TV.
No, just last week he announced when he went to Japan, we got some new foreign investment into our energy sector. That's massive.
So you're saying these ministers are not hidden. They're working in the shadows.
They're doing the work for which they were hired to do. And that's important. Again, you can't have all ministers perform at the same level of frequency as it is.
Yes, we can.
But I can tell you clearly.
We're paying them.
I can tell you ministers know that they must deliver, and they're busy with that work.
Well, that's all the time that we have. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayla.
Mr. Sunday Diary, for making out the time to be with us tonight on Hard Copy. I'm sure we'll see you again.
I'll be glad to come back again.
Good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
That's Hard Copy this week. I'm Kayla Magwa. Good night.